In the middle of the night, a room in a tall building remained lighted. Inside, a man seated in a chair exclaimed in front of his computer while playing a game. Excited, he clicked his mouse rapidly as he could not believe he could find his opponents late at night. Inside the game, he was battling against an enemy. The man, Yi Xian, persisted in defeating his opponent to become the first player to reach max level until his eyes turned red, and the prize of $1 million would be his. Soon, he eventually defeated his enemy. Yi Xian laughed in contentment. On the screen, the word devour came out. Yi Xian excitedly clicked his mouse, devouring his items. A brilliant light illuminated. It was so bright Yi Xian's computer released a blinding light. Yi Xian's eyes widened as if he was blinded. Yi Xian cursed as he covered himself as the light illuminated and materialized in his room. Outside, a pillar of light shone from the sky. After which, Yi Xian's room turned silent once more. In another place, the full moon shone through a rainy night. In the family mansion of the Yi family, the downpour of rain continued. At this time, an apparition appeared out of thin air. Yi Xian now turned into a phantom, floated in mid-air as he studied his surroundings. He could not help but let out a curse, wondering if he was dead or alive. Suddenly, Yi Xian was pulled down. From mid-air, he fell into the forest nearby. Yi Xian was not hurt and noticed a foot sticking out of his chest. He was stunned as he saw the foot move. Yi Xian was shocked as it passed through his body. He looked up and saw the other party's appearance, which looked like assassins. This time, a man's displeased voice of complaint was heard. The assassins snorted in reply while Yi Xian, who stood behind them, wondered if the man was talking about him. Soon, however, Yi Xian was petrified. The man was a splitting image of himself. While the assassins continued posturing because their plan succeeded in luring out the man, Yi Xian was happy because he saw how handsome he and the man was. As the confrontation continued, Yi Xian realized both sides could not see him. The assassins unmasked themselves and expressed how the man, who shared the same name as Yi Xian, took the bait easily. Yi Xian recognized the assassin. He revealed Chen Song as someone who he had defeated and asked if he yearned for more penetrating fists. Chen Song could not accept Yi Xian's words and reasoned he lost for being careless, so now he brought his elder brother, Chen Feng. Without delay, Chen Feng's aura erupted, declaring he would give Yi Xian a lesson he would not forget. Chen Feng showed his might. The ground rumbled and dust exploded everywhere as he charged at Yi Xian. In the blink of an eye, Chen Feng arrived on top of Yi Xian's head. However, Yi Xian was prepared. He received Chen Feng's attack with the Yi family's 4th-grade martial art, penetrating fists. On the side, gamer Yi Xian was amazed and claimed he would cultivate if he had a physical body. On the other hand, after Chen Song saw Yi Xian remain unharmed despite receiving elder brother Chen Feng's blow, his hatred rose once again. Chen Song could not accept Yi Xian could fight evenly with his elder brother despite being an entire stage lower. As the fight continued, Yi Xian eventually got the upper hand. Chen Song smiled sinisterly. He could not allow Yi Xian to realize his potential, robbing the Chen family's place in Lianyan City. Chen Song drew a knife behind his hand. He consoled himself and blamed Yi Xian for having immense talent. Gamer Yi Xian was alarmed upon witnessing Chen Song's actions. While his elder brother and Yi Xian were engaged in a heated fight, Chen Song silently sneaked behind with the intent to kill. Gamer Yi Xian warned at the top of his lungs. However, it was for naught. Yi Xian was pierced by Chen Song's knife. The knife struck his back and exited through his chest. Chen Feng's eyes widened at Chen Song's sneak attack. However, the cruel smile on Chen Song's widened after he succeeded and proclaimed Yi Xian's death on his hands. Despicable! Yi Xian grunted as blood seeped out of his mouth. While Chen Song continued to mock the most talented in Lianyan City for dying in his hands, gamer Yi Xian was disappointed upon seeing someone get defeated by a low-rank common dagger. Yi Xian's heart stopped beating and Chen Feng eventually accepted the outcome. With a thud, Yi Xian fell to the ground. After confirming Yi Xian was dead as a doornail, the Chen brothers retreated. After the 2 Chen brothers left, gamer Yi Xian approached. Silently, he took his steps. Near the dead body, gamer Yi Xian thought Yi Xian would be like him, but in the end, he was disappointed. He wondered why everything had happened and if it was for the sake of appearing in front of Yi Xian. Seeing Yi Xian drown in his blood, gamer Yi Xian could not help but lecture, why to fight someone head-on against someone who wanted to take one's life? If it were his game avatar, he would make them run around in circles. A hint of pity appeared on gamer Yi Xian's face, noticing Yi Xian's eyes wide open even after his death. He brought his hand out. He would help Yi Xian close his eyes. As he closed his eyes, he lectured Yi Xian to be smart in his next life. It was then that gamer Yi Xian experienced some change. His appearance turned golden and distorted. Soon, gamer Yi Xian's soul broke down completely. Later, the rain stopped. Clear skies finally appeared in the Yi family mansion. Nearby, a call for a young master was heard. Soon, a blurry image of a girl appeared. The girl, Lu Er, had tears in her eyes as he saw her young master woke up, clearly worried. The young master sat up and comforted the girl, claiming he was fine. Gamer Yi Xian wondered why he knew the name of Yi Xian's maid. Keeping his calm, Gamer Yi Xian asked Lu Er for a mirror. Soon, Gamer Yi Xian saw himself. He realized he had reincarnated into Yi Xian, who had pitifully died. It was then he remembered how Chen Song referred to his body's owner as the #1 genius of Lianyan City. The title made him smile. Gamer Yi Xian would live a better life, exact revenge, and become the strongest in the world in Yi Xian's stead. Cultivation is great, Gamer Yi Xian, now turn the genius Yi Xian, proclaimed as he tried to do what he had seen in TV shows. However, Yi Xian vomited blood and felt unbearable pain. He coughed hard and collapsed on the ground as he asked what was wrong. Lu Er gave him a cup of water and conveyed the news. Yi Xian's dantian had been shattered and his cultivation had been wiped out. Silence descended in the room. Yi Xian was dispirited after his dream of becoming the world's strongest was shattered before it had even begun. Lu Er consoled Yi Xian to calm him down and revealed there was a way to recover his broken dantian. 100-year-old ginseng in the family treasury could recover Yi Xian's strength. Hearing this, life returned to Yi Xian's face. He grabbed Lu Er and asked her to bring him to the treasury right away. Later that day, the climate turned for the better. Yi Xian walked out of his room, which made the people around him gather in whispers. They were shocked to see their young master's pale face and frail appearance. They were aware of the sudden attack and knew Yi Xian had become a cripple. As they continued their whispers, Yi Xian proceeded to walk with Lu Er. He felt burdened with each step he took. Soon, Lu Er pointed at the treasury ahead. The building also caught Yi Xian's eyes. A person seated in front of a table with 2 guards on each side appeared before Yi Xian. The man continued to fan himself elegantly as he stared at Yi Xian in silence. As Yi Xian approached, the guards stopped him in his tracks. Lu Er called the seated man, the third house steward, and erupted in anger after seeing them, proclaiming they were stopping the wrong person. The third house steward acknowledged calmly. He stared at Yi Xian and lazily questioned why he had come after asking for forgiveness for not recognizing him. Behind the crossed spears, Yi Xian answered he came for the 100-year-old ginseng. The third house steward nodded and requested for Yi Xian to show the permission slip from the patriarch. On the side, Lu Er wondered why they were asking for the permission slip when the young master could retrieve any item he needed from the treasury before. The third house steward slammed the table and retorted that Lu Er should know the answer. The third house steward then pointed his fan and declared that Yi Xian had no right to retrieve resources from the treasury since he became a cripple. Hearing his words, Lu Er protested why they would hit the young master when he was down. The third house steward remained unmoved and claimed he was polite, and if it was anyone else, he had made the guards chase him away. The third house steward's words made Yi Xian speechless. However, the elder was not finished yet and revealed that Yi Xian would be sent away to manage the family's business. Eventually, Yi Xian was helpless. The prestigious young master had turned into a beggar in a single night. Yi Xian snorted in the end. He turned around, calling for Lu Er. While they walked away, Lu Er suggested that Yi Xian to ask the patriarch directly since the third house steward's words could not be trusted. Upon hearing the little girl, the third house steward scoffed, thinking Yi Xian still fancied himself as the #1 genius. Soon, a servant appeared in front of Yi Xian. With a worried face, she informed Yi Xian that the patriarch was looking for him. On the side, Lu Er declared it was good timing and she would get to the bottom of Yi Xian's situation. After a moment of silence, Yi Xian asked the servant, Cui Er, why the patriarch had called him. Cui Er lowered her head and pondered for a while. After arranging her words, she answered that the Lin family had annulled the engagement. Lu Er was stunned upon hearing the news. However, Yi Xian was calm and thought it was his chance to turn the tide. As they walked, Lu Er grumbled about how despicable for the Lin family to take the initiative to suggest marriage and how they annul it after hearing Yi Xian's predicament. Later in the Yi family front hall, a group of people was gathered inside. Soon, someone arrived. Yi Xian appeared before everyone and called for his first uncle. One of the men acknowledged Yi Xian's arrival. He informed Yi Xian of the engagement between the Lin and Yi family and their wish. However, before his first uncle could finish, he answered he knew they would annul the engagement. After all, he was a cripple with a broken dantian. A couple of men who had their backs on Yi Xian remained silent after hearing his words. A moment later, one of the men brought the cup of tea down to the table. The man claimed Yi Xian was mistaken and it would not be reasonable for him to annul the engagement as he was the one who arranged it. The man on the side also added that Miss Lin was taken as a disciple of the Tianyuan sect elders and they had come to annul the engagement for Yi Xian's good. Yi Xian smiled and ridiculed how the Lin family resorted to making excuses to bully a cripple. On the side, the man sighed and expressed how the youngsters are ignorant these days. He further explained that Lin Shui'er had become the sect elder's disciple and the Yi family might be wiped out after the geniuses who wanted to pursue her learned about the engagement. Unconvinced, Yi Xian questioned how arrogant for them to not consider the laws of the Xianyang Empire. The man laughed heartily after hearing Yi Xian's words. After a while, he proclaimed Yi Xian was clueless as not just the geniuses of the Tianyuan sect but even he, as a mere protector, was not afraid of the Xianyuan Empire. Unimaginable power appeared in the man's hand and declared his sect could destroy the empire Yi Xian considered powerful beyond belief. The man's power destroyed the long table and his aura erupted all over the room. The oppressive atmosphere came suddenly. Even Yi Xian was caught unprepared. The man showed his might, he only needed to wave his finger and the empire would be destroyed. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and was deep in thought. The people around turned silent and could only close their eyes. Yi Xian did not expect the man's words. His first uncle also remained silent this time. Yi Xian could not believe everyone had broken out in cold sweats only after hearing the man's bragging. Soon, the man asked Yi Xian for his decision. On the side, the man from the Lin family assured him they would return the dowry as long as Yi Xian annulled the engagement. Hearing this, a brilliant thought suddenly surfaced in Yi Xian's mind. He was glad, there was still the dowry. Yi Xian's father had left him a dowry worth millions. If he managed to get thrice of the dowry's value, he could purchase medicine to repair his dantian. Thinking of this, Yi Xian expressed he did not mind annulling the engagement. Nevertheless, he hoped thrice of the dowry's value would be returned as an apology. His first uncle stood from his seat and prevented Yi Xian's request. Yi Xian smiled and assured him not to worry. In the end, his first uncle turned speechless. Soon, Yi Xian reasoned he would be a laughingstock if he easily agreed to annul the engagement. Furthermore, Yi Xian claimed the Lin family and the Tianyuan sect as righteous and strong factions and it would not be good if word spread that they were breaking promises and striking those who were down. Uncle Lin's face darkened. Unconcerned, Yi Xian once again expressed how the Lin family's name would be tarnished once word went out that they were bullying the weak. After saying all this, Yi Xian looked at Uncle Lin with cunning eyes. He proposed that he would announce that he annulled the engagement of his own accord in exchange for thrice the dowry's value that would be returned. Uncle Lin was speechless and his face darkened even more. The Tianyuan sect's protector roared in laughter after hearing Yi Xian's condition. He knew they were blackmailed but agreed in the end. Uncle Lin fell into a panic after hearing Elder Yu's words as 300 million were so much. Elder Yu ensured it was fine as something materialized in his palm. Soon, a small bottle appeared. It contained 2 spirit-gathering pills worth 150 million each. Elder Yu tossed the bottle toward Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian was frustrated. If he knew the man would agree readily, he would have asked 5 times for the dowry's value. After suffering a loss, Yi Xian asked Lu Er for the engagement contract. After agreeing to his young master's request, Lu Er brought out the contract with a sad face. In a flash, the contract was burned away. While she was still in shock, Elder Yu and Uncle Lin passed by Lu Er as they turned to leave. Yi Xian looked at their backs when he thought of something. He hurriedly stopped Elder Yu. Yi Xian asked for the elder's name. Elder Yu paused in his tracks and asked if Yi Xian wanted revenge. However, Yi Xian had different thoughts. In the future, he only wanted to profit from the foolish elder who wasted money so readily. Yi Xian calmly denied the elder's claim and explained he only wanted to seek pointers if they were to meet again. Elder Yu laughed softly after hearing Yi Xian's words. He demanded Yi Xian to remember his name carefully as he declared his name, Eugene, the protector of the Tianyuan sect. Walking away, he revealed his interest in Yi Xian and lamented how he could not take him as a disciple because of his shattered dantian. As his eyes looked on Elder Yu's back, Yi Xian muttered his name. Suddenly, the bottle in Yi Xian's hands glowed in gold. Yi Xian was surprised upon seeing the unexpected change. While he was in a daze, a screen appeared before his eyes, the ultimate devouring system. The display changed and a notification appeared. A spirit-gathering pill was detected. Do you wish to devour it? Yi Xian was in disbelief as he continued to stare at the display. It was then that a smile appeared on his face as he thought of the cheat had finally been activated. Yi Xian was satisfied, claiming the heavens did leave a way out for him. The voice of his first uncle calling Yi Xian was heard. His first uncle's voice brought Yi Xian back to reality. While his first uncle wondered why he was spacing out, Yi Xian did not answer and instead asked if there were orders for him. His first uncle thought for a moment and explained that they had used various treasures worth millions to save Yi Xian but to no avail. In the end, his first uncle asked him to hand over the spirit-gathering pills since Yi Xian was not destined for martial arts. Yi Xian lowered his head and declined as he reasoned that he had a purpose for the pills. On the side, another elder asked Yi Xian if he was planning to return to martial arts with the pill and declared it would not be feasible. The other elders claimed his naivety and discouraged Yi Xian as the medicine for the broken dantian far exceeded their capability and he would get attacked if he held into the pills. Yi Xian mockingly laughed at how everyone was so kind when nobody spoke out after Eugene showed his might, but now they were coveting the pills. Frustration appeared on the elders' faces for being insulted. Such impudence. The elder denied Yi Xian's words and reasoned that the pills could only bring disaster and it was better to offer them to the family. The remaining elders voiced their stance, looking for the patriarch's response. Yi Xian remained silent. Eventually, his first uncle expressed a tired sigh. He supported the elders and convinced Yi Xian to give up the pills. Yi Xian turned silent for a moment. He said he believed in his uncle's promise of carefree life and he was aware of their plans of sending him far away. Everyone listened to Yi Xian with various expressions on their faces. Yi Xian then refused the arrangement. He could not resign himself to a normal life. He would leave the family and build his clan the very next day. While the elders were shocked, they heard Yi Xian renouncing his ties with the Yi family. The elders could not hold themselves any longer and hurled curses toward Yi Xian's face. They demanded a punishment against the preposterous ingrate. The patriarch fell silent. After a while, he asked Yi Xian if he was determined, making the faces of the elders dumbfounded. Yi Xian confirmed his resolve and would go through his decision. Surprisingly, his first uncle supported his choice and asked him to take care. While the elders protested, Yi Xian was left without words. As the room descended in disorder, the patriarch demanded silence. He warned everyone not to harass Yi Xian, otherwise he would not be merciful. Then, the patriarch told Yi Xian to bring his servant, Lu Er, as she was loyal to him. While Lu Er was happy for accompanying her young master, Yi Xian was thankful for how reasonable his uncle was. As they walked away, the elders could not help but helplessly clench their teeth in anger. Later, in a corner of the Yi family mansion, Yi Xian and Lu Er were prepared to go. Lu Er asked Yi Xian where they would go. Yi Xian looked toward the distance and answered they would rent a room at the Drunken Immortal Inn. As they walked on the street towards the inn, Lu Er suggested going for a cheaper inn as their money was only enough for half a month in the Drunken Immortal Inn. However, Yi Xian denied her suggestion and assured them that less than a month was enough to restore his cultivation and by then, money is not a problem. Lu Er was shocked after hearing his words, and after Yi Xian confirmed it was not difficult as long as he had the pills, she was finally relieved. Later, in the Drunken Immortal Inn, Lu Er told Yi Xian she would leave to get some food. Yi Xian turned to look and confirmed the door was closed. His eyes shifted and his gaze fell on the small bottle in his hands. Soon, a mysterious energy appeared and gathered around Yi Xian. He pleaded for the cheat to not let him down as he brought a pill closer. Without hesitation, Yi Xian put the pill in his mouth and devoured it. The energy was activated in Yi Xian's body as a vortex appeared in his chest. Soon, subtle currents of spiritual energy were sucked into his body. On the display, Yi Xian saw the progress and assumed it was the representation of his dantian being repaired. A moment later, the display was 95% complete. Yi Xian brought out another pill and devoured it. As the spirit energy gathered toward Yi Xian, a notification sounded. The required energy to activate the system is full. The progress bar was full and the system had been activated. Yi Xian's dantian was shattered and instead of repairing it, the system started to devour it. Yi Xian was alarmed. However, he could not stop the system as it continued to devour his dantian. Soon, Yi Xian felt an unbearable pain as if all his internal organs were being rearranged. Yi Xian fell from his chair and collapsed on the floor as he held his stomach in misery. He continued to scream as the pain continued. The door opened and Lu Er appeared, seeing her young master suffering. She was helpless and could only watch Yi Xian in distress. Soon, his dantian was completely devoured and the devouring system has been fully activated. Yi Xian upright himself as he held his stomach with a wretched face. Then, he noticed something. Yi Xian realized his dantian had changed. The ultimate devouring system. It could devour everything and turn it into spiritual energy for the user to absorb. Later that day, Lu Er was beaming with joy as she confirmed her young master's recovery. Yi Xian was now filled to the brim with energy. To celebrate the blessing, Lu Er decided for the waiter to serve food and drinks to celebrate. Lu Er hurriedly left the room. Left alone, Yi Xian was smiling. He glanced at his hands as he thought of his devouring system. Soon, a magical aura surged in his body. He was in a magical place where the ultimate devouring system appeared before him. To have a system devoured everything and transform it into spiritual energy for him to absorb, Yi Xian realized it was easier than cultivating. The display changed and showed martial arts, bloodlines, and divine weapons. Yi Xian decided to check martial arts first. Then the display introduced martial arts. The 5 schools were the Gale Sword Technique, the Tiger's Roaring Fists, the Descent of the Wild Goose, the Indestructible Finger, and the Palm of Black Sand. Yi Xian was amazed. He immediately chose the Tiger's Roaring Fists to try out. However, an error occurred. He could not learn martial arts because of insufficient devouring points. With a hint of disappointment, Yi Xian asked how to get points. The system answered he could get the points by devouring precious items. Yi Xian hurriedly looked around. In the corner, he saw an exquisite vase. He believed the vase was precious enough. Yi Xian started to devour the item. However, an error occurred. Yi Xian's stance was inaccurate and he could not devour the vase. Sweat trickled Yi Xian's face as he thought about swallowing the vase. He could not help but hesitate. Eventually, Yi Xian brought the vase to his mouth since he was alone and could make a fool of himself. Soon, a change occurred. The vase floated in the air and started to shrink. Then, the small vase was reduced to the point that it could fit his mouth. After the vase was swallowed, the system notified him. The item was a piece of junk and no points were obtained. Angered, Yi Xian scolded the system as a scam. However, the system only reminded Yi Xian to devour precious items to obtain points once again. This time, Yi Xian assumed the precious items must be natural materials or cultivation resources of high value. He thought of the Lianyan Mountains and decided to venture it in the future. As he thought about how stupid swallowing looked like, the system proposed he could buy the devouring hand, and the items he touched with both hands could be devoured instantly. While he was in a daze, Yi Xian heard a commotion. He approached the window and took a peek outside. Down below, Lu Er was getting harassed by another young master's servant. Yi Xian was angered upon seeing this. The servant continued to insult Lu Er. She wanted to tear Lu Er's face to pieces for seducing men left and right. However, a kick landed on her face. Yi Xian appeared and sent the servant flying. Lu Er was glad to see her young master. Yi Xian comforted Lu Er, declaring he would settle everything on her behalf. With tears in her eyes, Lu Er agreed with her young master. This time, the man who was silent all this time let out a disdainful sound. He did not expect Yi Xian, the greatest genius of Lianyan City, to be alive. Yi Xian immediately recognized the man. It was the man who assassinated the genius Yi Xian. Chen Song said it was a pity for the Yi family to sacrifice a fortune of resources for a cripple. Yi Xian calmly replied Chen Song deserved to die 10,000 deaths for plotting to kill him and bullying Lu Er. Chen Song roared in laughter as though he heard the greatest joke. He questioned Yi Xian about how could he be killed by a cripple when he had beaten him in the duel. Yi Xian asked how could it be called a duel when they lured him into the middle of the night and launched a sneak attack on him. Anger arose on Yi Xian's face as he declared Chen Song would pay for what he did. Chen Song happily accepted, believing Yi Xian had finally gotten sick of living. His aura erupted and charged toward Yi Xian without hesitation. Thundering fists. Chen Song soared in the sky. He would grant Yi Xian's death wish. On the other hand, Yi Xian remained unmoved. He blocked Chen Song's fist effortlessly with one hand. Chen Song was shocked. His fist could not move further. Yi Xian commented the thundering fists was nothing impressive. He tightened his grip on Chen Song's fist. With a crack, Chen Song's arm was easily twisted. Chen Song's eyes turned red. He could not believe Yi Xian could use penetrating fist after his cultivation had been crippled. As Chen Song's scream reverberated in the room, his arm was twisted again. Yi Xian let go of Chen Song's hand which was crooked beyond recognizable. Looking down on Chen Song, Yi Xian was full of gratitude for the brothers as he was reborn because of them. As he crawled on the ground, Chinsong cursed the Yi family for spreading false news about Yi Xian's situation. Seeing Chinsong's wretched face, Yi Xian was prepared to make a move. Chinsong broke into a sweat and laughed drily, daring Yi Xian to kill him. His death would spark a war between the two families, and the weakest Yi family of the four great families would be buried with Chinsong. Hearing his words, Yi Xian was met with hesitation. Seeing him silent, Chinsong further stated that the Wu family who reigned the city would not sit by in case a war between families broke out. Yi Xian fell into deep thought as he realized a war would not do him or the Yi family any favors, and he needed to let Chinsong be alive a little longer while he gets stronger with the help of the devouring system. On the ground, Chinsong eventually saw his chance. Without delay, he charged toward Yi Xian with his dagger. Yi Xian made a move as soon as the dagger was near. With a kick, Yi Xian sent the dagger flying from Chinsong's hands. His servant squeaked as she saw the dagger fall on her side. She could not believe her young master was defeated. Chinsong was filled with fear when he looked at the broken fingers in his hand. Cruelness appeared on Yi Xian's face. He could not kill Chinsong, but he could cripple him. Without hesitation, Yi Xian raised his foot. His kick landed on Chinsong's face, sending him flying a few meters away. With a plop, Chinsong fell to the ground. Yi Xian did not delay and charged forward. Sensing Yi Xian's arrival, Chinsong screamed in despair. Yi Xian kicked again and sent him flying into the air. Yi Xian smiled in containment, but it was not enough. He moved to Chinsong's side and struck again. Chinsong slid onto the ground and remained motionless. This time, Yi Xian's anger subsided a little and a smile of satisfaction appeared on his face. He approached Chinsong and gave him another harmless kick. As he walked away, Yi Xian reminded Chinsong not to use the same sneak attack twice. On the side where the onlookers gathered, Yi Xian approached Lu Er to ask about her situation. Unknown to them, a servant of the Yi family saw the fight and decided to report it to the patriarch as soon as possible. Young Master Yi Xian had recovered his cultivation. In the Qin residence, the crippled Chinsong is on his bed. Dr. Lu was checking his pulse. Qinxiang, the Qin family's patriarch, inquired about Chinsong's condition. Dr. Lu informed him that the broken bones in Chinsong's arms had connected, and he just needed to recuperate for several months. Still, Chinsong should not do martial arts after recovering. Qin Feng couldn't accept that his brother had become a cripple. Dr. Lu explained to them that the meridians in both of Chinsong's arms were destroyed, so being able to move them normally is already a blessing. And for him to use martial arts again, he must find the blood jade severance grass to reshape his meridians. However, spiritual medicines like that are rare and priceless. Qin Feng could only curse Yi Xian for being ruthless. However, Qinxiang told Qin Feng not to lose hope since the Lianyan 18 mountains contain many spiritual medicines. He then instructed him to quickly go to the Lianyan 18 mountains to find the blood jade severance grass. Still, he reminded him not to go deep into the inner layer. Without hesitation, Qin Feng agreed. Qinxiang then instructed Qin Yu to go with someone and catch Yi Xian and specifically instructed him to bring him alive so he could torture him. Qin Yu grinned and muttered, "It's about time to teach that bastard a lesson." After a moment, the people dispersed and immediately prepared for the task given to them. When Qinxiang was the only one left in the room, he said it looked like it was time to talk to the Wu family, and the Yi family had to disappear. On the outskirts of Lianyan 18 mountains, Yi Xian was walking in the woods when a giant boar appeared behind him. When the boar started to charge at him, he noticed the movement behind him. He turned his head and immediately backflipped to dodge the boar's charge. Meanwhile, in the drunken immortal residence, Luer looked out of the window of their rented building, waiting for her young master to come back safely. Before Yi Xian left, she tried to go with him. Still, Yi Xian told her that since he had recovered his martial ability, he would find a way to improve his martial arts quickly. It would be inconvenient if she tagged along. Yi Xian was worried that the Qin family would come for revenge since he crippled Chinsong. He was afraid that it would implicate Luer, so he instructed Luer not to go out for the next few days. Luer assured him that she would take care of herself. On the outskirts of Lianyan 18 mountains, the birds in the trees flew away after being disturbed by the boar's actions. Yi Xian landed after the backflip, relieved he could dodge fast enough. The boar is a second-grade demonic beast green boar. It charged at Yi Xian once again. He was delighted that the boar charged again. He planned to try something out on the boar. When the boar was close enough, he sidestepped the boar's charge and grabbed its mane with his left hand. He swung his right hand to prepare for a punch. His hand glowed, and then he punched the green boar's head. The green boar coughed blood and died. He just entered the mountain, and there's already a second-grade beast. Yi Xian decided to be more careful. He believes a third-grade beast shouldn't be a big problem since he quickly dealt with a second-grade beast. He was about to walk away but suddenly stopped. He wondered if he could use the devouring system to devour the corpse since the system should be able to consume all things. Since he wouldn't get a stomachache anyway, he decided to just do it, and it wouldn't hurt to try. He moved closer to the corpse, opened his mouth, and posed like he was about to eat. The devouring system was activated, and the green boar's corpse became smaller and smaller until it was devoured. A screen appeared, saying it devoured the corpse of a second-grade demonic beast, a green boar, with spiritual power plus 20. Yi Xian was cheerful. He had determined that the system didn't deceive him. If he goes on a rampage, he can also improve his cultivation. Moments later, noises of beasts escaped the mountain. Yi Xian was punching, kicking, and blasting beasts which he devoured afterward. Second-grade demonic beast, black leopard. Spiritual power plus 20. Third-grade demonic beast, fanged wolf. Spiritual power plus 30. Third-grade demonic beast, patterned bird. Spiritual power plus 30. Later that day, the full moon replaced the sun. In front of a campfire, a large piece of meat is still being cooked as Yi Xian sits, leaning against a demonic beast while eating meat and looking at the devouring system screen. There are 10 grades of martial arts. One stage will increase Yi Xian's strength by 100 Jin plus the power of the open back fist. He now has the power of 600 Jin in one punch. Killing demonic beasts below the 4th grade is no longer challenging for him. Yi Xian decided to hunt 4th grade beasts when the sun rose. He thinks that being on top of a tree is safer. He put out the fire and jumped towards a branch of a tall tree. He decided to rest for the night, using a leaf to cover his face. At that moment, the leaves of a tree moved, and something slithered on the ground. Yi Xian woke up and noticed the movements. He then smiled and guessed that a big guy was coming. On the outskirts of Lianyan 18 Mountains, where fireflies lit up the darkness of the night, Yi Xian stood on a tree's branch. He noticed that something was heading in his direction. When he saw what was heading in his direction, he was astonished. What he saw was a third-grade white phosphorus python. He wasn't astounded because it was a third-grade demonic beast, but because of its size. The third-grade white phosphorus python he saw was too giant for a normal one. Yi Xian didn't mind the abnormality and decided to devour it since it came right to him. He summoned devouring space and pulled a sword out of it. The devouring space is the best. It is much more helpful than a stupid universe bag and a must for plundering. Yi Xian jumped from the tree and swung his sword toward the python's body. He was able to hit his mark but couldn't cut through it in one strike. The python was about to bite him, but he could step back fast enough. Suddenly, blood leaked out of the python's wound. Yi Xian thought it would attack him, but he was surprised when the python slithered away. He noticed the python had black lines on its scales, slightly different from typical white phosphorus pythons. He speculated that the python he encountered was a demonic beast that had mutated into a 4th-grade white phosphorus python after eating some heavenly treasures. He got excited at the thought of devouring such a demonic beast. Without any delay, he started to track the python's whereabouts. Following the python's tracks, he arrived in front of a cave's entrance. He couldn't keep himself from grinning, thinking that there was a chance that the heavenly treasure that caused it to mutate was inside that cave. Yi Xian confidently entered the cave. He kept turning his head, seemingly looking for the python or treasures. He then exclaimed when he noticed pink crystals in the middle of a rock area surrounded by a pool of water. He was under the impression that those pink crystals were responsible for the white phosphorus python's mutation. Yi Xian thinks it must be good to mutate a 3rd-grade demonic beast into a 4th-grade demonic one. He used the stones that protruded from the water's surface as stepping stones to the rock area where the pink crystals were situated. Afterward, Yi Xian landed near the pink crystals. He hoped that he could get devouring points from the pink crystals. When he grabbed the giant pink crystal, bubbles appeared from the water's surface behind him. A white phosphorus python's head protruded. It immediately attempted to eat Yi Xian, but he could narrowly dodge the attack. The snake's head struck the ground. He noticed that the python that attacked him had a golden line and was about the same size as the one he had encountered earlier. Yi Xian was dumbfounded to see the python's body struggling to free its head from being buried. Another python appeared behind him, but it was a python with a black line. Once again, he was attacked but was able to dodge. Yi Xian was in a tight situation. Whether he lives or not depends on the pink crystal that he was able to grab. He immediately opened his mouth and devoured the pink crystal. Written in the devouring system screen are 100%, devoured 1 obsidian essence or spiritual power plus 1000, devouring points plus 6. Yi Xian broke through to the middle stage of 5th grade martial arts. Yi Xian rejoiced after finally obtaining devouring points. He broke through to the middle stage of 5th grade martial arts. He noticed the python with black lines slither aggressively toward him. Yi Xian immediately removed his blade from the devouring space. He was confident that he could kill the black-line python since he broke through the 5th grade martial arts middle stage. He slashed at the python's body, and his blade cut through it and sliced it in two. The gold-lined python was finally able to free its head. It got furious after seeing the black-lined python's corpse and then went on a rampage. Yi Xian dodged its attack and used the opening to slash his sword toward the gold-lined python's head, but he was shocked that the blade didn't even scratch its scale. He couldn't believe that even though he was in the middle stage of the 5th grade of martial arts, he still couldn't break its defenses. Yi Xian ran and dodged desperately. He didn't know what to do. He thinks it's a pity that the original owner of his current body doesn't know sword techniques. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been so troublesome for him. Yi Xian suddenly remembered that he had just obtained some devouring points, so he decided to go to the system to exchange for techniques he could use to defeat the python. While running and dodging the python's attacks, he instructed the devouring system to open the martial arts library and look for 5th grade martial arts. A list of martial arts suddenly appeared. His choices were the Gale Sword Technique, Tiger Fist, Falling Goose Kick, Golden Finger, Black Sand Palm, and Sand Diagram Blade Technique. He chose the Gale Sword Technique. The exchange cost Yi Xian 1 devouring point. He smiled confidently. He was eyeing the gold-lined python, waiting for the perfect time to attack. Yi Xian suddenly jumped and slashed his sword toward the python's body. His attack wounded it. He felt mysterious, but after the exchange, he immediately grasped the essence of the martial art. When he saw the white phosphorus python preparing to attack him, he grinned at it and slashed at its body countless times. Moments later, the gold-lined python was lying on the floor. Near it is Yi Xian, sweating and breathing heavily. He was exhausted after repeatedly using the 5th grade martial arts, Gale Sword Technique. With his cultivation of 5th grade, his spiritual power will soon be exhausted after releasing the sword energy a few more times. He's determined not to extend the battle any longer. Right then, the gold-lined python got up and opened its mouth. Yi Xian gathered all of his spiritual power into his right hand. He waited, then sidestepped the gold-lined python's attack. Afterward, he used that opening to swing his sword and cut it into two. He sat down hard on the floor and released a long sigh of relief. The gold-lined python may only be in the 5th grade, but its strength is comparable to a 6th grade demonic beast. If it weren't for the change in the 5th grade martial arts, he might have died there that day. After catching his breath, he exchanged for the devouring hand. 3 devouring points were deducted and exchanged for it. Yi Xian effortlessly devoured the gold-lined python. He gained 300 spiritual powers after devouring it. He was satisfied that he would no longer use his mouth to devour things. It should be almost dawn since he's been fighting there for a while. He wanted to leave as early as he could. He devoured the 4th grade mutated demonic beast, white phosphorus python, from which he gained 100 spiritual powers. After devouring everything he could, he went out of the cave. When Yi Xian left the cave, the sun's light was already peeking through the clouds. Tall trees bathed in the sun's light. Even though he's only been in the mountains for a day, Yi Xian's cultivation has already risen in massive amounts. But the most important thing that he obtained was devouring points. He confirmed that his previous analysis was correct. Only precious items like heavenly materials and treasures can give him devouring points. He decided to return as fast as possible to not worry Lure, who was waiting for him in the drunken immortal residence. Yi Xian was walking towards the Lianyan 18 Mountains exit when he suddenly heard some movements behind him. He immediately turned around and pulled his sword out of the devouring space. A white leopard came out of the bush and leaped towards him, so he bent backward to dodge the attack. While the white leopard jumped over him, he noticed a collar with crystals on its neck. He identified the leopard as a 4th grade, chasing wind leopard. To find a crystal stone worth 1 million on a beast's neck, he smiled and got excited. He started chasing the leopard, but it suddenly hid and vanished. Yi Xian was looking for it when he heard a man's voice. He asked the little girl to give him the bloodstone chopping grass, otherwise, he wouldn't be polite. He moved closer to the people talking and was shocked to see Chen Feng threatening someone. In front of him is a white girl wearing a hat with a veil. The girl talked back and dared Chen Feng to see if he had the skill to back up his words. Chen Feng called the girl ignorant, then took out his sword and leaped toward the girl. As he slashed his sword, the girl quickly stepped back. Simultaneously, a white aura gathered towards her right palm, seemingly preparing to counterattack. Chen Feng snorted as he curled his left fist. A lilac-colored aura gathered towards it. The girl attacked Chen Feng with her palm, which Chen Feng easily blocked with his fist. She used her palm to strike Chen Feng again, and he used his left fist in response. As the palm and the fist collided, the lilac aura in Chen Feng's fist diffused. The girl was caught off guard, and she was overwhelmed by Chen Feng. The impact blew her away, and her hat was removed. She couldn't stand anymore and just curled her body in pain. Her clothes got ragged, and bruises covered her whole body. Yi Xian saw the girl's face and recognized her. She's Xue Qingqing, the daughter of Xue Hai, the wealthiest man in Wanjin City and the childhood friend of the original Yi Xian. Chen Feng was about to finish Xue Qingqing off with his sword, but Yi Xian immediately grabbed a twig, threw it towards the blade, and blocked it, saving her life. Chen Feng asked aloud who dared to interrupt him. Yi Xian walked out of the shadows, saying there was no limit to what the Chen family could do and that he could even be so cruel towards a weak lady. Both Xue Qingqing and Chen Feng exclaimed. Chen Feng asked Yi Xian if he's been following him. Yi Xian called Chen Feng an idiot and told him no one had the time to follow him. He then ignored Chen Feng, who was annoyed, and asked Xue Qingqing if she was injured, her reason for coming to the Lianyan 18 Mountains, and where her father and guards were. Xue Qingqing answered she was okay. She then told Yi Xian that he was only at the early stage of 4th grade martial arts. On the other hand, Chen Feng is in the early stage of 5th grade martial arts, so even with the two of them together, they won't be able to beat Chen Feng. She convinced Yi Xian to run away quickly while she stopped Chen Feng for him. Yi Xian was surprised that she still fought Chen Feng despite knowing those things, so she reasoned that she didn't realize until they exchanged blows. He tapped her head and revealed he was no longer in the early stage of 4th grade martial arts. Xue Qingqing's face lit up as she guessed that Yi Xian had broken through the 5th grade martial arts. She then grabbed Yi Xian's left arm, moved it between her chest, and praised him, causing him to blush. Afterward, Xue Qingqing childishly told Yi Xian to teach Chen Feng a lesson, so Chen Feng got even more annoyed. Right then, Yi Xian asked her to stay there, and he'll kill Chen Feng for her. Chen Feng smiled, saying he didn't use his full strength the last time they fought. Now he'll let Yi Xian taste the Chen family's thunderstorm sword technique, vowing to avenge his brother's broken arm by killing him. Yi Xian pulled out his sword from the devouring space and confidently challenged Chen Feng, saying he'd like to see him try. Chen Feng exclaimed, and he had mistaken devouring space for a dimension ring. He got excited, thinking he could have the dimension ring after killing Yi Xian. He swung his sword and leaped to launch an attack. Yi Xian defended, and their clash started. Birds were once again disturbed from their rest and forced to fly away from the trees. Chen Feng and Yi Xian clashed swords. Yi Xian released a sword aura. Chen Feng was shocked but managed to dodge the attack. He was pushed back. At this moment, he couldn't believe that Yi Xian's realm was higher than his. Yi Xian took the opportunity to anger Chen Feng and thanked his brother. Otherwise, he wouldn't have obtained such a big harvest. Chen Feng said he should have cut Yi Xian's head that day. Yi Xian replied it was already too late for regrets, and he'll kill him in 3 moves to show his gratitude. Chen Feng got annoyed by Yi Xian's arrogance and leaped toward him using the thunderstorm sword technique. Yi Xian became solemn, swung his sword, and used the cutting gale technique. The two techniques clashed. The impact of the clash was so significant that it can be seen from far away. Dust filled the whole area. When the dust thinned out, Yi Xian was revealed, unscathed. He mocked the Chen family's thunderstorm sword technique, saying it's nothing special. Chen Feng desperately asked Yi Xian what martial arts he had learned and how he could easily block his fully powered thunderstorm sword. Yi Xian mockingly answered it as a 5th grade martial art, Gale Blade, and even asked Chen Feng if he wanted to learn the technique. He promised to teach Chen Feng if he kneeled and begged. Chen Feng was speechless as things had become difficult for him. He wondered where Yi Xian learned a 5th grade martial art, as he would lose if he continued to fight. Yi Xian realized kneeling and begging might be too hard, so he suggested that calling him daddy is okay too. To survive, Chen Feng can only use Xue Qingqing as a hostage. He immediately ran toward Xue Qingqing, making them both shocked. Yi Xian ran instantly while exchanging for 5th grade martial arts, rushing steps. Rushing steps were successfully exchanged, and 1 devouring point was deducted. At this moment, Chen Feng was already near Shui Qingqing's position. She couldn't react and run. Right then, Yi Xian rushed toward Chen Feng and immediately slashed his sword, separating Chen Feng's body in half. But he was able to aim his sword toward Shui Qingqing's face. Because of the force, the sword kept going toward her. Yi Xian turned around and straight away dove toward her chest, forcing her down and away from the sword's harm. They both fell to the ground. Shui Qingqing was embarrassed seeing Yi Xian bury his face in her chest. She immediately asked him to get up. Yi Xian reasoned that his legs slipped. A moment later, blood came out of his nose when he thought of how pleasant her smell was. On the Lianyan 18 Mountains outskirts, Shui Qingqing took a bottle from her chest. She tossed the bottle towards Yi Xian, saying she would have died if he hadn't appeared. Yi Xian was puzzled. When he caught the bottle, he saw a plant stored within it. He asked Shui Qingqing if she wanted to give that to him. He guessed that it was a priceless elixir in the market called bloodstone chopping grass. Shui Qingqing said that that piece of broken grass wasn't more valuable than her. Her father is the wealthiest man in Wanjin City, and that elixir is nothing to her. Yi Xian accepted the gift and acted as if to put it into his pocket, but he hid the bloodstone chopping grass in the devouring space. After securing the bloodstone chopping grass, he asked Shui Qingqing why she came to Lianyan 18 Mountains. Shui Qingqing explained that she wanted to go to the Rift Cloud sect, but her father did not allow her, so she ran out alone and got lost. Yi Xian said that she was lucky that she met him and told her that they should go back to Lianyan City first. He promised to treat her to a meal at the Drunken Immortal residence since she and Lure hadn't seen each other for more than a year. He wants them to get together. Shui Qingqing expressed that it was perfect since she was hungry and wanted to eat a whole crispy lotus seed fish. They left the Lianyan 18 Mountains together and arrived at the Lianyan City's gate. A man was running towards them, saying it was good that he had finally found Yi Xian. He asked Yi Xian to follow him to Ye's residence because Lure was injured. Yi Xian asked the man who injured Lure. The man told him that the person who injured Lure was someone from the Chen family. The man explained that Chen Yu brought people to catch Yi Xian but couldn't find him, so they took it to Lure. After the news of his crippling Chen Song was sent to the Yi family, the patriarch immediately took action to get Lure back. But, unfortunately, it was too late. Yi Xian desperately asked the man about Lure's current condition. The man informed him that the doctor said that Lure's body had been destroyed by the fierce thunder chi. He's afraid that Lure won't be able to survive the night. After hearing the man's words, Yi Xian ran instantly toward the Yi family's mansion. To do that kind of difficult thing to an average person, he regretted that he underestimated how vicious people in that world are. When Yi Xian arrived at the Yi family's back hall, he instructed the woman taking care of Lure to leave. He ensured the woman had left before moving close to Lure. Lure had a severe expression, sweating heavily, and ecchymosis was all over her face. Yi Xian requested an exchange for the elixir 100 Flowers of Dew. The exchange was successful. 1 devouring point was deducted for the 100 Flowers Dew. He immediately removed the bottle's cap, assisted Lure to sit, and helped her drink the 100 Flowers Dew. 100 of flower dew can dissolve external spiritual qi, toxins, and other bodily abnormalities. Relieves pain and heals wounds quickly. It is only effective for people with martial arts below the 9th level. Yi Xian laid Lure back on her bed. He could see Lure's expression at ease, and the ecchymosis and sweat healed and vanished. When Lure's complexion became normal, Yi Xian sighed in relief. He was glad he could get a few points in the Lianyan Mountains. When he left the room, he saw the patriarch and elders waiting for him. The patriarch asked about Lure's condition. Yi Xian informed him that he had already given her an elixir he had obtained from the Lianyan 18 Mountains. He told him that she'll be fine after waking up. The patriarch was relieved. He felt happy seeing that Yi Xian didn't just recover his cultivation but had also improved. Yi Xian proudly said he had broken through to the middle stage of 5th level martial arts. The patriarch guessed that he had gotten a lot of opportunities in the Lianyan 18 Mountains. One of the elders said that they regretted forcing him to turn his pills that day. He wouldn't have left the Yi family in anger, and Lure wouldn't have gotten hurt. The patriarch apologized and hoped that Yi Xian would go back to the Yi family and forget about any previous grievances. Yi Xian expressed that he never blamed the elders or section. He said that he understood that they are also dedicated to the development of the Yi family. He admitted that he didn't know anything before and said he would leave the Yi family angrily. He thought that with the system activated, he needed a lot of resources. Although he could level up quickly in Lianyan 18 Mountains, it wasn't as good as the family's support. He added that the blood of the Yi family flows in him. Until death, he is still a member of the Yi family. He thinks agreeing with them is good since the sect elders have become submissive. The elders and patriarch rejoiced. They praised Yi Xian for being sensible and for not disputing their words. But their happy faces turned into confused faces when Yi Xian said he had 2 conditions. The patriarch said they're willing to do anything as long as he's ready to return. Yi Xian grinned and said he wanted the Chen family to disappear from Lianyan City.